Hey everyone, welcome to POPXP. And before the show starts, make sure to click that subscribe button and click the bell to get notifications when we go live and we upload awesome new content. And don't forget, if you can, make sure to share our stream on all your social media outlets. We appreciate it, and thanks for helping us grow the POPXP channel. Hey, what's going on, YouTube? It's the brain of the mainframe here, Niall Scout with POPXP, and joining me tonight is a special guest, a legend that is growing in the indie comics scene. Everyone, please welcome Mr. Alton Simpson. Alton, how you doing tonight, my friend?
Niall, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I don't know about that legend, but I'm working as hard as I can to get the word out on indie comics.
That's what's happening, man. Your name's getting out there. People know who Alton Simpson is, and I have to tell you, man, you have some incredible comic books out there. The whole Vampires of New Jersey line, all your other stuff you're working up, the little snippet that you gave me of something new you were working on. Yeah. I mean, it's incredible, dude.
Thanks, Niall. I'm trying, throwing my 2 cents in.
This humble stumble. He's like, I'm trying. He's trying. It's like, yeah, I know I got this down.
Yeah. Everybody's got some cool stuff. The guys you have on tonight, I'm checking out their stuff. I'm like, this is really well done. It's beautiful to look at. They're interesting stories. I mean, indie comics is popping, man.
Yeah, definitely. And everyone, if you can out there watching, head on over to Facebook and you can check out the, just type in Vampires of New Jersey and check out the Facebook page. You can see what's going on with all the stuff with Alton. He's got some videos on here, things he's promoting, the books. It's got links to everything you need to go to. And definitely check out Vampires of New Jersey. It's absolutely incredible series of books, man.
Thanks, Niall.
You are very welcome. And tonight we've got it, man. This is 5 and Dime. I think this is the second 5 and Dime we've done. So we've got 5 creators, 10 minutes each. We're going to sit there. They get to plug their books, whether the books are on Indiegogo, Kickstarter, Comixology, self on their own websites, hustling and pushing what they have out there. So let's kick it off from straight across the pond, everyone. Please welcome Adam Hayder to the show. Adam, how are you doing tonight, my friend?
I am good. I've got to be careful. I get quite excited and quite loud, and the wife is sleeping in the next room. So it's probably best to temper the excitement.
Sasha, we'll just talk like this, bro. We'll just be like this. Yeah, so what's this book you got, man?
Be here and meet everyone. I was cool backstage. I think this is probably one of the bigger takeaways is just getting to know the community. Like the art medium's phenomenal, but it's the people behind it that really do make it out. So you get to everyone, see what projects are going on at the moment. It's great times.
Yeah, man. And you've got an awesome book. But first, before we get into it, let's just take a couple minutes and let us know who you are. Like, how did you get into comics? What's your origin story?
Cool. Long story, so we'll do the very, very compressed version. From New Zealand originally, loved writing, but it wasn't a huge sort of thing over there. So it's something I've done in the background on and off. Didn't have comics that much as I was growing up. So originally sort of started writing novels because that's what you write when you write. Terrible at that, absolutely shite. But had a friend say with one of the stories, I could see this as a graphic novel, and then I was like, wow. So you start checking it out, picking up some bits and pieces, and then just got very lucky to team up with Megan, who's at MegJStev on everything. Check out her Instagram. Art's phenomenal on there, huge on Webtoons, Ringo nominated. So yeah, I got lucky and hitched myself to a good wagon on there, and she's really, I'll say she's a talent behind this as well. So the story I had, she loved the idea of, tied in with a bit of what she'd been doing as well, and that's how the partnership for Sonder came about.
Oh, very cool. And let's take a look at Sonder. So you sent us a PDF of the book, and I have to say it's absolutely gorgeous. It is a gorgeous book. Now tell us about Sonder, though. What is this book about? This is Sonder Volume 1, I believe.
Correct. Yeah. So it's a closed narrative. So we're looking at about 4 or 5. I usually write my stories in a screenplay style. So poor Megan gets a document like that, and then it takes a bit of time to break down, what you can fit into each chapter,
right.
Where you want your breaks happening on that side. And again, being my first, I take a lot of the lead from Megan with this sort of stuff. Book itself came about, was very much a character one rather than plot. So I was working as a pub chef when I first got to Edinburgh. First job, getting myself back on my feet. And I dropped a pea in a bowl of soup one day. And this is where this idea comes from, of an updated Princess and the Pea sort of fairy tale. Imagine if you find your love your life through some silly story like that. Then I started tying in Beauty and the Beast, and you get all these characters. You need to give them someone to come up against, and who better than Dracula? I mean, he's your biggest, baddest guy when it comes to your realms of fairy tale and everything like that. And from there, the characters sort of they grow their voice, the obstacles that they come up against. The way the story developed wasn't necessarily what I had in my head to start with, which is quite cool, because you sort of put these characters in situations like, actually, that's not how you would really react. And I think that was quite refreshing. You can probably see I'm a big fan of scribbling out ideas on boards behind me. I like to get it out and put it out there. And I think if you can really establish who the people are at the start, your story can take you away from what you actually thought it was at the ends as well, which is quite cool.
Mm-hmm. Man, the art's incredible in this book. I really love Megan's work.
The detail in it, like every time you come back to it, I'll still notice bits and pieces. The first page that I got from it, and to see something that you've written actually come to life like that is incredible. So I absolutely champion Megan, and anyone go check out her other work, the work she's got on Webtoons. She has a huge talent. She's got side projects going on as well, and will be a force in the indie comics world.
Where is she out of?
So she spent a bit of time, and by a bit of time, I think it was about 10 years in Texas, is now in the UK, living down towards London. So I'm up in Edinburgh, sort of top to bottom.
Yeah.
So do the spread there. But yeah, she's the one to watch.
How did you guys meet up to work on this project?
Right, now, can we just say you have no idea about the answer to this, do you?
No,
it's cool. So it's not set up at all. We met on Tinder. So I've just come back from a Tinder date that wasn't going anywhere. To be fair, she probably had to put up with me a few bottles of wine and thought the same thing. And I'm scrolling through Tinder and I see Megan's profile where she talks about being a comic creator and artist. Mm-hmm. So I thought, wow. So I do a bit of stalking and check her out, and then message her and was like, look, got this story that I'd love to get developed, seen some of your work. She replies back and says, politely, really not interested in you on the dating side, but if you genuinely have a story. And it took a while to convince her that I'm not going at you with some weird angle that I've written some story to try and get on a date with. But eventually, went out for a couple of drinks in a pub, took her the story, looked at some of her artwork, and just sort of went from there. So I have zero artistic talent. So each time we're meeting up, I'm drawing these box figures and sticking in, being like, right, I see this one like this one like that. Yeah. And then she'll send back these full detail. You see the work there. Oh, you mean like this? You mean like that? I'm like, that is it. Yeah. So nice wee fortuitous story like that.
Incredible. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, man, Tinder, if that was around when I was a single man, I'd be in so much trouble.
Yeah. I was my college roommate the other day. We had that back when we were in school. We might still be in school. We never got anything.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. Wife is next door and we'll listen to this. I met Megan. We made this comic. I then met the wife. That is my only experience with Tinder.
There you go.
You now, got out of it, and what you got out was great. So,
2 for 2, yeah.
That was 2 for 2 right there. Yeah, I mean, this is a gorgeous book. I mean, her artwork. Now, did she color it and everything?
She does everything. So she does, and this was eye-opening as well. I was very naive, even coming down to lettering. She'd send me a couple of fonts, and I'd sort of go back and be like, "Oh, have we got something else?" So she'd send me a link to the page of 1,000 fonts that she gets her fonts from, and you're like, "Holy shit!" So going through, you get a real appreciation for what I guess all creators go through on the artistic side, because that's well outside my talent there.
And how many pages is this book?
So I think this one's coming in at 76.
Wow, incredible. How long did it take for you guys to put this together to get to the finished product?
We did. So from inception, we're talking about 2 years to get to this stage, but we started off on Webtoons as sort of a comic pitching tool as well. So you could have it out there, get a bit of feel for how it was received in the market too. And then got really lucky at one of the last sci-fi comic conventions that was going round. Right. Managed to meet the editor-in-chief at Marcosia Comics, who's a publisher over here. Pitched the idea, sent the PDF with Megan's work, and they loved it and picked it up. From there, we sort of, got tracked now to finish volume 1, and quite excited to get volume 2 out there as soon as we can.
Very cool. Now, with volume 2, are you going to crowdfund? How are you going to go about that next volume?
So really lucky with the deal we got with the publisher is you get paid on the back end for these. So volume 2, once we've got it ready to go, it's out there as well. But yeah, I think I've looked at another couple of, forget your man's name, who does a mix with one of the publishers where they'll sort of crowdfund, set themselves up, and then go on the sides. But I think at the moment, keep it. What's working's working. So
yeah. And if anybody wants to grab a copy, I mean, you can go on Amazon right now, and you can grab a copy of volume 1 here, the paperback for $14.99 right on Amazon. I'm going to add this link to the description of the show. We'll also add the link right here in the chat for anyone that wants to check this out and order a copy. There's only 9 left in stock. More on the way. Just saying. Christmas is right around the corner, people. That's going to be 9 happy people right there.
Right, move those books.
Yes, incredible, man. Adam, and do you have anything else in the works? Anything else going on outside of Sonders?
I've got a big project I'm working on at the moment that is it's ridiculous, if we be honest, and I sort of grabbing that and embracing it. So working title at the moment, and I'm not sure I'll get away with this, is 5-Finger Death Punch of the Apocalypse. You've got 5 chapters that sort of build your world of the apocalypse. You sort of watch things distract, but I want to bring in a bit of fun, bit of crazy in it. So first chapter I'm working on calling Protein Zombies. So it's really embracing sort of a crazy take on where the world can go. And unfortunately, this was all started before the pandemic and everything's hit, and it's a bit like slightly on the nose now. So.
Yeah. I was going to say 2020 title.
Yeah. But I think everyone that's got any sort of apocalypse type, having a bit of fun with that, is looking at it going, whoops.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, hey, Adam, man, thanks for joining us. I appreciate you jumping on 5 and Dime with us, staying up late. I know it's like 2 a.m., but I think your boss will be pretty happy that you're going to get to bed soon, right? And
I might stay in for 1 or 2,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you're more than welcome to hang out. Please join us. What I'd like to do now is, again, everyone, check out Sonders Volume 1. I just put the link into the chat, and then after the show, I will add it to the description of this episode for it to be forever in the YouTube universe. But yeah, man, it looks good. The art is phenomenal. I can't wait to see. And I read it. I read the PDF you sent me, and it's an amazing story. Really, it is well worth the $14.99. Definitely. Is the Kindle still available?
I think Kindle's still available on that.
Is it?
Yeah,
okay.
I appreciate the review on that. And Volume 2, it goes different places. Like, we like to set it up and then take you right into it. Yeah.
Nice, man. So now, everyone, let's welcome our second guest on 5 and Dime, and we have Mr. Chris Brunt. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Chris.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you all doing?
We are doing fantastic. Well, at least I can speak for myself. I don't know. Alden, how you doing, man?
I feel good, man.
Feeling good. Yeah. Adam's awake, so that's good. He's awake.
Adam, that book looks awesome.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man.
Yeah, I definitely gotta check that out when I get a chance, man.
Awesome books. So, Chris, we have you on for your book. You have Battle Monsters, and I know that's currently up on Comixology. But before we get into your book, I want to do the same thing because we never had you on the show. I'm not too familiar with you, so I'd love to know about you. How did you get into comics? Was it something you grew up with? Was it something that came later in life? Give us a little bit of the dirt on yourself.
So not to age me too much, but my first introduction to comics was really Batman animated series, X-Men animated series, and watching those with my father growing up. Just Batman alone was so amazing as a kid watching that show. And then X-Men, just like these fantastical worlds and these characters were great. And then getting those VHSs at Pizza Hut and things like that. Fast forward a few years later, I get a few comics here and there. My dad did kind of give me some, but the one that really nailed it in for me was when I first discovered Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. I know now it's like the biggest thing in the world, but I discovered it right after Volume 1 hit the stands, right. And just fell in love with the idea, and then just kept eating it up every time a new trade came out. Mm-hmm. Then eventually I got my own comic store in my hometown, and from there it's just been downhill. Buying everything I get my hands on. So,
what's the name of your comic shop?
So the shop at the time was called Pulp Nouveau. It has now changed. I have another shop called Two Kings Comics. So anybody up in Western New York, Rochester area, Two Kings Comics, best comic shop around.
Excellent. I love it. That's not too far.
No, it isn't.
Check that out. So let me ask you, man, how has it been being a comic shop owner? I mean, with everything going, we're good friends with the Jeppies and stuff, and everything with Diamond and all that stuff. How was it for you as a comic shop owner?
I must have misspoke there. I didn't own a shop. That was just a shop finally opened in my hometown.
I
was
you
happy.
Opened the shop. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Gotcha.
But I am also really good friends with the guy that owns our shop now. And other than the month of shutdowns that we had, he's thrived. He's done really good.
He's done well. Yeah.
So.
Well, that's awesome, dude. That's great to hear. And let's check out, man. So you came to us with Battle Monsters. Now this is on Comixology. It's also on your Fortress of Comic News website, where you can get a PDF copy. I believe they could buy a physical copy. So tell us a bit though about Battle Monsters.
So quick backstory: Fortress Comic News is my weekly comic book podcast, and we had interviewed so many creators throughout the years, everyone from guys that we have in the show today just getting their first start to Jeff Lemire and so on and so forth. And I found out that all of them have the same thing in common. They all just took a shot and tried it. And so, most of them are successful. And so I figured, why not? Let's give it a shot. And I had this idea floating around, and that's what Battle Monsters became. So what it basically is my deranged version of Pokemon. I really wanted to explore the idea of what happens when the Pokemon start to get too smart for the trainers and say, let's overthrow them and take over the world. And that's kind of what this book is. It's my version of, hey, these characters you're seeing now on the screen are not really trainers, I can't say that, but who got overthrown by these creatures, and now they have to live kind of in these communities to stay away from them for their own safety. Mm-hmm. The short version is it's my version of Pokemon meets The Walking Dead.
Nice. Now, did you write and draw the book? How did the structure of this book come to be?
So I'm the writer and the letterer. Anyone out there who's never lettered, don't be stupid like me and think it's easy. But I found a writer online, or an artist online, Kelly. He did all the art for it. And what I loved about his work was his pencils reminded me a lot of Ryan Otley, especially early Ryan Otley. And I really liked that. And we talked, and the big thing there was he wasn't too familiar with kind of the source where I came from. So he was able to add in his own flavor to it and make it its own world, which was really big for me. Just to see someone take my idea and kind of make it a little bit more unique than what I had created. And then I also hit up Refran, who did all the colors on the book. And I think together they just created a really great looking book. I was so happy with what they came up with.
Mm-hmm. No, it looks cool, man. I gotta ask this. So you say it's like, your take on kind of like Pokemon meets Walking Dead type thing. So these creatures here look like dinosaurs of some type. So tell us a bit about, if someone buys this book, what can they expect as far as like the characters in the book, the creatures and the humans and stuff.
So if you look back at the cover, our main characters are really right there on the cover. That cat creature we have there is our main like villain in the book. And then we just really like that rhino guy, so we put him on there as well. But there's a few other. There's in later issues, there's going to be like an eagle type person. I really did like the whole dinosaur thing. That was actually Kelly that kind of threw that in there and said, "Why not just do dinosaurs?" And I was like, "Yeah, dinosaurs are cool." And then in later issues, I actually started to add it in where I was like, "Well, maybe this guy's a raptor." Maybe, and so it just kind of flowed really well with how we were working together. But the different monsters are going to be anything from a cat to a dinosaur to a oversized rodent, anything you could think of that I could turn into a humanoid-like creature.
That's cool.
That is cool. Now, Nicholas Gear asked a pretty good question. How do you submit comics to Comixology?
So actually on the page you're on right now, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's a thing that says submit right under more.
Yep.
There it is.
Click on that, create your account, and go through the submission process, which is basically you're going to fill out a bunch of information about your book, the title, the number, anything you can think of. They want the information. And then they're going to ask you for kind of your backstory. And then you got to submit a PDF, and you're probably going to have to submit that PDF 3 or 4 times because they tear that PDF apart because they want it to be the best it can possibly be.
Right.
So if you've never done it before, find somebody that knows layout and Photoshop really well, because you're going to be calling them every couple of days to be like, "Hey, there's something wrong. This happened, and I have no idea what this means." But other than that, it's fairly simple. It just takes forever.
Yeah, it does. My stuff's on there now. It took the first thing I submitted took the longest, but then I have like a bunch of issues of vampires now and blackjack, and then I did a movie that I turned into a comic that's up there too. But he's right. The first one they get, they're going through it, ripping it apart. But after you get that initial book on, your success next issue, as long as you keep that quality the same, it goes through pretty quick.
Yeah, but now, so what is it that they're tearing apart? Is it the quality of the file, like the resolution of it, the size, or they want to crop things?
They have specs that are very specific. I went through the same thing with Amazon when I submitted my films. They want them in a certain specific way for their system to plug it in. And a lot of books are on Comixology, and they have standards too. So they want everything up to their code, whatever their code is. And you just have to, it says submit. You got to just submit whatever they want. You give it. But once you crack that code, your next issues, they'll be like, okay, well, he's got one on here. He's got 2, 3, 4, whatever. So. And
what's really cool is that they're like panel by panel system they use. They do that for you. So I think a part of that is like making sure your panels are so they can actually do their little system there. And then also, they're just like enhance. And it's like an old movie. It's like enhance. And until they can find the crack and the pixelation in it, because they want it to be the best looking thing it could possibly be on their service.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. And Gothic Arch said that universe can be expanded infinitely with characters.
Yeah, so currently my goal is to get this into a 4-issue series, wrap this story up, and then kind of move on from there. I've been mulling around ideas for more stories. I actually just wrote a short story in this universe to kind of add to a trade or something to maybe tease another volume.
Very nice.
But right now my main focus is there's 4 issues. They need to get out, and I want people to read them because I worked really hard on this, and I really think it came out to be something cool. So I hope people like it as much as I enjoyed making it.
Now, have you done any crowdfunding with this?
So this was originally funded on Kickstarter to get a print version done and to finish, actually start funding issue 2. So we did get a successful Kickstarter going, raised a little bit over $1,500. And so I've got print copies available through the website that were done through that. And then the rest of the money basically went back into the book to try to pay for another issue.
Oh, very good. Very good. So when do you anticipate issue 2 being released?
Hopefully sometime next year. I'm hoping for early next year. It comes down to my artist. The big issue with being a writer in this medium is that you write it and you're like, oh yeah, great, and you send it out, and then you just kind of sit there and wait for somebody to bring you stuff back that you can critique a little bit, because sometimes they miss things. I mean, Kelly's from Indonesia, so there is a little bit of a barrier there that we have to work with as two humans on this world. But other than that, for the most part, Kelly brings back stuff that I get really excited about. So it's just that waiting period that right now he's working hard on the book. So
Nice.
Well, awesome, man. I appreciate you sharing this with us. Good luck with issue 1. I look forward to having you back on the show when you get issue 2 rolling. Especially if you kickstart it, we'll do a little thing for you on the show. Yeah, man, thanks so much for sharing this with us.
Thanks for chatting with me.
So everyone, if you want to check out Battle Monsters, Comixology, an Amazon company, they're taking over the world.
Yeah.
Or you can head right on over to Fortress of Comics news website, where you can get a PDF copy, physical copy, and you can also purchase the Bat Friends Phantasm commentary track.
Yes.
Nice.
I love it. Fantastic.
And no one ever believes me on this, but you can type in Battle Monsters, and I'm the only thing that pops up.
That's cool.
Awesome. Well, that's cool, man. And as always, you're more than welcome to stay. We're gonna get our next guest here on the show.
I'm gonna bow out, guys. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Adam. Get yourself some sleep.
Get some rest, Adam.
All right. Now, everyone, please welcome. I don't want to murder the last name, and I should have asked. Before the show, Al. I should have asked.
Yeah.
I'm gonna introduce Sam. Sam, welcome to the show, man.
What's up, guys?
What's up? I should have asked. What kind of person am I? Oh my word!
It's pronounced Stevquoah. Nobody ever gets it right the first time, man. So don't worry, man.
Yeah,
Classic host mistake.
I was gonna say Stevquoah. I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I didn't. But hey, man, so fun story. I get, between Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I get a lot of messages, and I bounce back between a personal and primarily on POPXP on Twitter. That's me pretty much doing everything. And then I have my own Nile account, which is smaller, and I keep it a little more personal. And I get messages all the time. I'm scrolling through today, like I got to catch up on this stuff. People are going to think I'm an a-hole. So I'm going through it. I see one from Sam, and I see his book. I'm like, oh, wow, this is freaking gorgeous. I'm looking. I'm like, oh, 4 days. Shoot. And I was like, I gotta reach out to him tonight. I was like, I gotta get him while his campaign is still alive. Gotta get him on the show. Here we are. I'm so happy he can do it. And Sam, my man, thank you for coming on, dude. I appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah, I remember when they retweeted my comic, because I've been promoting it over the last month or so. And then I was like, man, who's the creator? Who's the person that I can get in contact with? Because I was like, you guys are doing something big. Like, you guys got the whole platform and everything like that. I'm like, yo, I'm going the show. So then I saw your name. Attached to the tweet as one of the people on there. So I was like, all right, yeah, I'm just gonna reach out to Neil, see if he says what's up. And so Here we are.
Nice. So, man, tell us before we get into your book, tell us a bit about yourself, man. How did you get into comics? How did you get, to where you are today?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've always been into the whole comic book stuff, animation, movies, television, all that kind of stuff. Everything revolving around geek culture. I've always been into that. But I've mainly been into animation. I've been a fanatic when it comes to animation. And I remember just starting off at a young age, around 10 or 12, I would always fill my notebooks, the notebooks that my mom would get me for school, those 5-star notebooks, if you remember. Yeah. I would fill them in all drawings and stories, and I would pass them out to kids in my neighborhood. Yo, check this out, and they would read yo, when's the next issue coming out? It was awesome doing that and seeing the feedback from people. And from there, I went on and got my undergrad in computer animation in college. So and then up to now, I'm still doing this. I'm still leading by my passion, and I really want to get into animation, but I found out that I wanted to do this one story about Mill City's Finest, And I figured that, the best way to do that is to give people content. And, of course, like animation is not the cheapest medium around. So, of course, I decided, let me start off with doing by comics.
Yeah.
Out there and seeing what happens. And I started off by doing a trailer, an animated trailer for Mill City's Finest back in 2017, in March of 2017. And in the first month of release, we had like over 150,000 views. And that's when I was like, all right, like I told the team, like after we finished popping and champagne and everything like that, I'm all right. I got the team together. I'm like, okay, we got to figure out what we're going to do about this because people want more of this content. So, fast forward, here we are. We have comics coming out. We came up with our first comic book in March before the pandemic hit and everything went crazy.
Yeah.
We have our next comic book, Welcome to Mill City, that's out right now. And like you said, 4 days. We have 4 days left in the campaign. We're well over 200% funded. Like it's just amazing right now,
Yeah,
that's incredible, man.
Right,
That's
well,
awesome. Let's check out the campaign. And so is this animated in the video you have for the campaign? Is that animated feature in there that you did?
So that's like more of like a motion type comic. I just kind of made it like move a little bit to make it seem like it's not the trailer that I was talking about that I dropped about 3 years ago. That's linked on the campaign. If you scroll down a little bit, and then
let's check out your campaign video, man. Let's check this out.
For sure. Hi guys, my name is Samuel Stevquoah, creative director and head writer of Mill City's Finest. This is our next comic book, Mill City's Finest, Welcome to Mill City. On our first comic book, Expecting a Hero Volume 1, it followed a family escaping a civil war from Liberia, West Africa to move to Mill City. This is the continuation of that story, starting with our main hero, Momalu. So this again, Mill City's Finest, Welcome to Mill City. This is a 20-page comic that features heroes and villains, and it's a coming-of-age story that follows our main hero, again, Momalu. You definitely want to get your hands on this comic. Mill City's Finest, Welcome to Mill City.
Dude, that's sick.
Thanks, man.
That's awesome. Let's talk. I mean, character design, right? I mean, this is incredible artwork in this book. Let's talk about the creative team, and then let's talk about the costume. I mean, I love this design. I mean, what's the inspiration?
So I remember when we first decided to come up with the trailer, and we first, of course, had to come up with our main hero, our main character. And I knew that, even though we're doing a superhero comic, I didn't want it to be very traditional. I didn't want it to be cliche.
Right.
So, this whole series around the Mill City's Finest is really based on my life growing up as a first generation African American. I grew up in Lowell, Massachusetts, which is on the East Coast. And so like I really wanted to, dive into the character's mythology and where the character is from. So I was like, why are all these superheroes always have to have a cape, a big symbol on their chest?
Mm-hmm.
This character, I wanted to make it seem like everything about him was delved in his culture, like I said. So with this character, he's wearing an African dashiki. I was like, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make the first superhero in an African dashiki. It's gonna look like that. He's gonna have his own customized mask and everything like that. And everything revolving around his powers. It's all, deep into his whole like mythology and spiritual powers around African mythology and everything like that. So that's where we came up with this character, and his name is Momolu. And the name Momolu itself came from Liberian heritage, which is West African.
Mhm.
I wanted to make it like just get away from the whole cliche around like Spider-Man, Superman, away from all of that. So I decided to make the character's name Momolu, and we came up with that design.
Yeah. Let's see. I got a comment here. So Herrenberg, he actually asked a question to you, Sam. He said, do you know our records in Lowell? We've been friends with Owner Ron for 30 years.
I don't.
And then he says, reminiscent a bit of Static Shock, which is not a bad thing at all, especially since we talked with Michael Davis last night, which we did. He's such a cool dude.
Yeah. That's so sick because I mean, it's funny. Everyone keeps saying that. It's like when the first time we came up with the trailer, like there were so much comments and everything being like reminiscent of Static Shock. And again, like it's not a bad thing. It's sick. Yeah. Like I remember, like all right, I'll say it. Like I've been like really trying to pitch this series to different networks and everything like that, and we're still in the midst of making that happen. And the last time we did that, we pitched to a studio that I'm not going to name. But it was on the same day of Static Shock's, I think, like 20-something anniversary. Right. And I mentioned in the pitch, I was like, hey, this is very reminiscent of Static Shock. But I mean, that should go to show you, too, like how many, there isn't that many black superheroes.
No.
You can only like name, you can name them on your hand.
Yeah.
You got Static Shock, you got Green Lantern, John Stewart, and then so on, so on. So the fact that people are saying this about this character, I feel like is awesome, too.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I love what you've done with the design, the look of the book. I mean, did you draw in this book? Is this your work?
No, so I'm the creator and I'm the head writer. So I work with different illustrators.
But absolutely gorgeous. And then Mr. Solomon asked, and we'll just go long shot, but did you know Martin Carter and Lowell? A little older than you, I think.
No.
I'm
sorry, I'm like a terrible Lowell native. Man. I'm like, no.
How small is Lowell's? That's my question.
What's that?
I feel like I'm missing out. What's up with?
Yeah, Lowell's a pretty big. Is it a city? Tell me about Lowell.
Yeah. It's a big city right now. It's kind of like being taken over by UMass Lowell. I mean, it's pretty good because there's a lot of investment going into the city.
Right.
It's mainly known for its mills, its mill factories.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's an old. I think it was like founded in the 1800s. So it preserves a lot of its architecture. And,
right.
It has a lot of like brick buildings and that sort of thing. So it's a suburb. It's a suburb mainly.
Okay.
Old town suburb. Yeah.
Well, let's get into the story though. What do we have going on here? What's the story? What are his powers? Give us a little bit of it.
Absolutely. I mean, so our first comic book, Expecting Hero Volume 1, which I'll show you right here. This is the one that we launched back in March of this year. So that story followed a family escaping a civil war to move to Mill City. So this is the main character again, Momolu. But as you can see, this Momolu looks a lot different from this Momolu here, which is the book. Yeah. And the reason for that is this is the Momolu that started with everything. The traditional. This is the one that started in Liberia, West Africa, and the one that moves to Mill City is the one that's in the United States.
Right.
With the whole story and everything, it's a coming of age story. It's about this kid trying to find his place in the world. That's the greater arc. Now, in Welcome to Mill City issue 1, Andre, and that's his real name, Andre Weah and his friends kind of get together and they find out that there's this new criminal who's selling a new drug on the streets that's giving people superpowers similar to his. And he goes on this quest to find out who's doing that, who this new criminal is. And then on that same quest, he finds out that there's a bigger threat going on. So Mill City's Finest is a series of issues. So this is our first issue, issue 1. It's going to be a series of issues that, explains or draws out that whole arc. There's going to be a beginning, middle, and then, of course, end, a conclusion.
Wow, incredible, man! This is cool. And I know, like there's a photo in here showing you doing a signing of the book. If anyone, so with Kickstarter and Indiegogo, you've got like brand dedication, right? There's people out there that won't support Indiegogo, they won't support Kickstarter. How can they get this book outside of Kickstarter? Is there a way to purchase this book?
Yeah, so we have most of our books. We have this book right now, Our Expecting a Hero Volume 1, on our website, mcfseries.com. So go to mcfseries.com, you can get this book, you can get this hat.
Okay.
We have some different artworks. So if you're a big fan of Lowell, if you're a big fan of our art in general, you can see some awesome artworks of our main hero on some key landmarks in Lowell. That looks pretty. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff on there. If you want to know more about the characters, superpowers, I know you mentioned that too. The villains, the world, everything like that's on the website, mcfseries.com.
All right, fantastic. And just one question before we head into our next guest, Sam. Brian Blevins is actually a producer, one of our producers. Asked the question, says, at POPXP, the pop culture experience. Oh, that's because he tagged it. Sorry. Is the idea that there will be other designer drugs for different powers? Other designer drugs.
Interesting.
Like, will he be creating other drugs that give them other powers throughout the story?
Yes, that's pretty much our. I'm not sure if I'm using the right term. Scapegoat to showcase different people with different powers. Like again, when making Mill City's Finest, I really wanted to be as original as I can and to try to tell familiar stories in a different way that people are not most accustomed to. So I had to showcase some of my ideas for what powers would look like in this world. And that's pretty much what we use. We use that as kind of like the vessel to talk about different characters with different powers. And that's pretty awesome too. I'm seeing this for the first time that we just made our stretch goal right on this platform. So that's pretty sick.
You go.
Yeah.
2,600. That's pretty sick.
There you go, man.
Man.
That's what we love to see. We love to see that. And Sam, this is absolutely gorgeous. I got to get my hands on a couple of these books. I really want to dive into your story, man. It's pretty cool and interesting. I really appreciate you reaching out. I'm glad I got to you on time. I'm glad I, went through my messages and I wasn't lazy today. And real cool. Please stick around for the rest of the show. And let's bring in our next guest. Everyone, please welcome Doc Hogg himself.
Hi,
how are you doing, Mr.?
I'm doing really well. I really enjoyed seeing some of these projects here. They look really good, and I have to say to Chris that hearing where you initially were introduced to comics made me both laugh and despair, and that my introduction to comics was reruns of the 1960s Batman show. So I'm dating myself even further back than you are.
So my podcast comes from a shared love of that show. Mike and I love that show so much, and that's what we started talking about in the shop together.
Yeah. I think my favorite part of that show was the 2-hour special or whatever they did, where in the helicopter he actually has shark repellent, barracuda repellent, octopus. Yeah, that was awesome.
I have my Batman somewhere around here with shark repellent spray because that's genius.
Yeah.
Last night we were actually talking about that series with Michael Davis again, and it was funny because he brought up the first time. Now I'm too young to have seen that when it originally aired on TV. I would watch.
Oh, me too, reruns. But not by much.
I watched reruns on like FX, in like the 90s and stuff. But the first versions I saw of it were like recorded. And they were actually in black and white, which was funny. And then it just cracked me up when first time I saw Batman 66 in color. I was blown away that he was purple.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
That is nuts.
The stylistic thing that fit 1966, 67. It just fit the time,
Yeah. But that's pretty cool. But Doc, man, you gotta tell us, Doc, you gotta tell us.
Gotta tell you what.
What do we got in store? We gotta know your origin story. We gotta know how you got into comics. We gotta know about you. Not just about Batman, Doc.
He just told you.
Yeah, I just told you. No, that's fine. No, I started.
Can't just be Batman, bro.
No, I started collecting comics when I was young, and I think my dad. I bought an Avengers comic because when I was out visiting my grandparents, and I was a little bored, and my dad was the first one to explain to me how the dates on everything worked, and it was. I can't remember the name of the series, but I do remember it was introduced, was it a Tumwa, something like that. I really enjoyed it. I collected comics off and on, and then as I got into my teenage and adult years, it kind of fell away. But I always like going back to them because in many ways it was just as someone who has a very busy mind, it was always nice to pick up a comic and just it was in many ways relaxing. And I've gotten to this point kind of just a friend called me up a couple of years ago and talked to me about things like indie comics and Comicsgate. And I said, well, I've had a bunch of story ideas bounce around in my head for years and I have no idea what to do with them. I certainly don't, want to write a novel at this point in my life and even try that. They might actually work as comic book stories. So one thing just kind of led to another. And I wrote a couple of scripts and finally settled on a story called Tilt, and I launched that first one back in May and was successfully funded. Got it started actually. No, I launched it in March, got it successfully funded when it ended in May, and I actually started shipping in June. So I have a pretty quick turnaround time. So that's basically my story in a nutshell.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. So let's check out Tilt Part 2.
Please.
And what I'll do is we'll start off. Let's play your campaign video.
All right.
It's that time again, my friends. Time to get tilted. The campaign for Tilt Part 2 is underway. Jennifer Poehler was in danger after mobsters murdered her dad. For her protection, spirits gave her the power to make the characters in an ordinary deck of playing cards come alive. Now she has to use that power to eliminate the mobsters who killed her dad. In issue 2, it is time for the mobsters to face the music. But what price will Jennifer pay? Will her recklessness catch up with her? Find out and back Tilt Part 2. Brought to you by the same team that brought you issue 1. Written by David Doc Hog Hogberg. Illustrated by Marcos Lima. Colored by Lenore King. And lettered by D. Jason Meadows, bringing you 32 pages of sexiness, surprises, and slaughter. Tilt Part 2, now on Indiegogo. It's superheroes meet the Sopranos, and this time, the Sopranos get whacked.
Cool.
That's cool, man.
Well,
That's
thank you.
neat. I like. How did this idea come to be?
Well, I was actually a professional poker player for a couple of years, and my debt status still kind of reflects that. But but once I moved back out of that, I just I decided the first comic I really should focus on is something that I'm familiar with, and I was just like I know so much about cards and. I just kept thinking of ideas, what could somebody do with a card, and you think about X-Men and Gambit, but obviously I just didn't want to, make some weak copy of that. And finally I realized, wait a minute, the Jacks and the Kings, most of them in the cards are holding weapons like axes and swords. What if you could actually make those characters come alive and they'd kind of do your bidding with the axes and the swords and stuff like that. And then once I had the power that the character would have, I started building a story around it. Why would someone have to use this power? Why would they have it? And that's just kind of what, I just started building the story around that. And, that's basically how Tilt came about.
Cool.
Wow, that's a cool idea, man. I like that. I love that the characters come from the deck of cards. So so they basically she can kind of then summon them to appear when she needs them.
Yeah, let me just give the story here. Jennifer Poehler, who is the main character here, her dad is murdered by mobsters, and and the mobsters are then out to get her as well. In the afterlife, her dad begs a spirit to give her a power to, that will protect her, and the spirit gives her the ability to make the cards in the characters in a deck of cards come alive. But the price of having that power is that she has to use it to eliminate the mobsters who murdered her dad. So all she really has to do, though, is she carries around her dad's lucky deck of cards. It's the only one that'll work this way, and she tosses out the characters as she needs them. Now they have kind of different roles, like the kings and the jacks, of course, are more the soldiers, the enforcers. The queens, they have weapons as well, but they are also kind of the spies or reconnaissance. They're the ones going out and trying to collect information for Jennifer, so she knows how to set up the mobsters. And basically, in issue 1, she just gets that started. Issue 2 here, she's fully into it, and this is where most of the mobsters are going to face the music. Now, you may be saying, well, doesn't that kind of give away quite a bit of the plot? Well, to some extent, yes, but Jennifer, she has some character flaws. You always want characters to have some flaws that they have to either deal with and overcome. She's somewhat reckless and somewhat impulsive, which initially when she starts this out, she's scared to death to do it. She can't even imagine that she could kill a mobster. And the first time around, she pees in her pants, throws up. Eventually, though, she's actually going to start slowly getting off on the adrenaline rush associated with it. And going either way, being impulsive and reckless are bad character flaws to have on either one of those. So that is going to come back to haunt her at the end of issue 2 here, and that will lead into issue 3. This is going to be a 3-issue. This particular story will be a 3-issue story arc. Now, how will it come back to haunt her at the end of issue 2? Well, you'll have to buy it. And if you didn't get in on issue 1, there is you can select your tier. There is you can add on issue 1 as an add-on. You can either buy the physical copy for of the add-on for $8, or you can buy the PDF for of issue 1 for just $1. So there's a way for you to get caught up. A couple of the other perks. There's a couple of pinups that are available. One of them says jiggities on it. If you don't know, in poker, jiggity is a pair of jacks, but it has a double meaning here because the jacks are surrounding and leering at Jennifer, and it's also a play on giggity from Glenn from Family Guys. And there's also a special tilt deck of cards, a 54 card poker deck, and there's there will be a special tilt. It's the one with Jennifer kind of holding the card over her bosom, and that'll be on the back of the deck of cards. And then there's going to be a special there will be kings, queens, and jacks, special ones that will be on the front side of the custom kings, queens, and jacks will be on the front side of the card. And let's see what else. Oh, if you would like to have your pinups as posters, that is, they won't be folded, that is an add-on as well. There are only 4 of those left, and you'll be getting not only any of the pinups that are available through part 2 here, you will be getting the 3 pinups that were available for part 1 with that as well. They'll come in a nice plastic sleeve, and so they won't be folded. And finally, there is still some original Tilt art that's available to back, and there's also still a couple ways to get yourself drawn into issue 3. And with those, you'll get both copies of the physical copies of the comic, one with the standard cover, one with the variant cover, the digital copy, the pinups, and the special tilt deck of cards. So that's pretty much the elevator pitch there.
Wow, that's fantastic. I love that deck of cards that you have there. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Now with Tilt Part 2, so this is your second campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And your first, when did you do the first one? You said in May?
March.
March. So are you looking to do
ended
two or three issues a year? Is that what you're looking to build up? Or?
Right now, I'm kind of in a spot of where I'd like to do 2 a year. I sometimes feel like I kind of maybe issue 2, I rushed it a little bit, not in terms of the art or the story or anything, but just, organizing the campaign. So I think, next time as I get to issue 3, I'm just going to, take my time a little bit, not, forever, but, if I get 1 issue out a year, great. If it's like 2 issues out, great. I mean, ultimately, I'd like to get 2 issues out a year, but I'm still in the learning process of this. So, it's just I'm learning almost as much with issue 2 as I did with the campaign for issue 1. So, yeah.
Now, where do you see issue 3 launching, or when do you see? I mean, sorry.
If this one gets funded, I would see issue 3 sometime in the spring. If this does not, issue 2 does not, I will relaunch sometime probably like February and March, and then issue 3 would be pushed back to later in the summer.
Okay, fantastic. Well, it looks cool, man. I love the concept. I really do. I think it's great.
Thank you.
And everyone, if you can, check it out a little deeper, look into Tilt. And with any of the campaigns on tonight, any of the books that we have, I really encourage everyone, even if it's not your cup of tea, just share it. Share it on your social medias. Help, continue growing the indie community. Share it on your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter. It might not be something you like, but, if you love that indie community, just help support the creators so we can keep growing. And the indie community is growing. We're in a new golden age, everyone. This really is happening. Mainstream comics are doing what they're doing. I'm not going to say they're bad. I'm not going to say they're great. But I mean, they're doing their own thing right now, but it's bringing a lot of attention to this community. And I think we need to continue thriving and creating, and everyone's doing a bang up job. You guys really are. I mean, these ideas that are out there, I mean, with the playing deck with the, her minions are in that deck. Her army is with her in a deck of cards. I mean, that's fantastic. I love that idea.
Yes,
I mean, that's awesome, man. That's
well,
awesome.
Well, thank you. And amen to what you said about the indie community. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
Part 2.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, this is great. So everyone, like I said, check it out, share it. The same with all the other books we've shown tonight. And I'll remind you all at the end of the show to do the same thing. And let's get our last guest on for tonight. He's a returning guest that we've had. So everyone, please welcome John Hervey to the show. John, man, how we doing? You got to unmute, bro.
What's up, John?
Unmute.
Now I'm unmuted.
There we go.
Hey.
Yes, sir. It's good to see everybody. Hey, wanted to give a quick shout out to Doc Hogg. I backed his first book. It's a good book. Looking forward to the second one. Haven't had the pleasure of backing Chris, what Chris has going on, but I just followed you on Twitter, so I'll check it out. And Al, you're the man. It's funny. Yeah, you keep looking around. It's fun. Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny.
Here,
man, you're doing it big. When I grow up, I'm trying to do that too. I'm trying to do it big. Right. But hey, Niall, you interviewed my old boss yesterday.
Yeah?
Mike Davis.
What the heck is going on with Mike Davis, man? I get like all these connections tonight with Mike Davis.
Yeah.
Which cracking me up, man. He's like, Niall, man. He's like, I feel bad. You're just sitting up there not talking. I was trying to get some questions in, but we're going to have him back on the show. But dude, I was like entranced. I was just like absorbing everything he was saying, everything he was talking about, and he's freaking hilarious. He's like
a Pied Piper.
Yeah,
because I worked for him at Motown Animation back in the mid '90s, and he really is kind of a larger than life personality.
Oh, definitely.
And he's somebody. It's like. I feel like with Mike, he's kind of like he's kind of like that uncle that you're just like, oh no, I'm kind of glad Uncle's coming to dinner, but oh no, he's coming to dinner.
It's like he's a fun uncle, but sometimes he's still fun.
Yeah. You don't know what he's gonna say. You don't know what he's gonna do, and you can't rein it in.
That's right.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I love him.
Well, hopefully, his new venture takes off. That would be cool if they.
I
get
hope
that,
so, man.
The comics and stuff going. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. And then for those that haven't seen him, man, he's definitely a legend in the industry. It wasn't called Milestone it was called Milestone for a reason. I mean, what they were doing. I mean, they brought some amazing characters to comics. They did. Yeah. And it's good to see that DC does revive, some of them, and they do the milestone collections and things. But we need that in comics. We need to have great diversity in comics. We need to have diverse creators, books, everything. And man, what they did, man, they brought some. I mean, I love Static. Hardware, Icon. I mean, I love those books. I loved grabbing those off the shelf. But yeah, that's cool. And everyone just positive vibes and good thoughts. He's got some surgery going on this week. So, we know he's going to pull through. Everything will be fine. But as always, if anyone's ever going under the knife, you always want to send those prayers. If that's your thing, positive vibes, just whatever you can. So someone pulls through. But, let's get back to the man of the show here now, Mr. John Hervey. So, for those out there that don't know you, man, give us a little bit of your origin story.
Okay. So in terms of how I got into comics, back when the direct market wasn't a thing and you could get your comics on spinner racks, I would go with my mom to a local drugstore, and there was one spinner rack there. So I get to choose one book. So I go with her every time, and I get my book. At the time, the Super Friends were big, and the 60s Spider-Man show was big, and they would also show like the 60s cartoons of like Thor and Namor and Captain America and Iron Man. So so those guys I was already cool with. I'd easily grab their books. But one day I went there and they had 2 racks. So now I had a lot of work to do. I'm looking through the different racks because Mom, on a good day, Mom would let me have 2. But I knew I was really only going to come away with 1. I saw this one book and I never seen it before. Because at that point I hadn't made the connection between Super Friends and Justice League. So I wasn't even trying to pick up that book because I didn't know what it was. I mean, I would kind of look at it and I'd be like, eh. But I saw this one cover and it was like it entranced me. And it was had this giant Crusher Creel and he's holding up Miss Marvel like he's King Kong. And he's on this, and it's like he'd absorbed the powers of he'd absorbed like a liner, like a big boat, and Iron Man's attacking him, the Beast is attacking him, and the Vision's attacking him. I didn't know half the dudes, but I said, this looks really cool. Well, that was Avengers 184, and that was drawn by John Byrne. So I opened up, man, I got that book, and that was like candy in a candy store. I read that book so many times. And I told my mom, I said, Mom, I am now a comic book collector. And this is a big deal because you got to understand, it wasn't cool back in the day. This was not a cool profession to make. This was not a cool thing to be doing. And my mom was like, oh, that's great, baby. You finish your greens, baby. I'm like, no, this is real. I'm like, I'm in this, But, it's kind of funny back then, you just kind of start finding your community, finding out other people in your neighborhood. One of my boys, he was collecting Daredevil. And then you just kind of develop a community around comics. Now it's a lot easier because of the internet. Right. That was my introduction to comics. The first time I worked in comics was for Michael Davis, and I was basically just his gopher. My boy, who's a game designer now, he got me a job over there, and he was doing real work. I mean, he was like kind of managing the office and stuff. He's like, I think I can get you on board over here. So I was like Michael's gopher, and I was just kind of like that little yippy dog that was always running around him. So I'm just doing menial stuff all the time, but I always got ideas. I'm always pitching him. He's just like, you're not going to get a chance to write on a book for like a year and a half. I'm just pitching him. And he's just like, no. He's just like, no. He's like Matumbo. He's like, no. But then one day, he had put in a solicitation because he published 4 books through Motown Animation through Image. And the 4th book was called Trouble Man. One of my boys, Chuck Drost, because he basically brought his studio, Bad Boy Studio. He brought them from New York to L.A. And so we were all in the Mid-Wilshire district. So all of them were from New York, except for my boy, who was from L.A., got me on the team because he needed one other cat, just to do menial stuff. That was me. I was all good with it because I just love being in the atmosphere. Mm-hmm. So like people like Chris Sotomayor, who's a colorist over in at Marvel, those were the cats that were all kind of coming up at that time. And he said, hey, I put in a solicitation to Diamond already, and the writer has ghosted. This is on a Thursday. And he says, on Tuesday, you're going to be back here, and you're going to be back here with a full script. And I want to see the story arc for the rest of the miniseries, because they were doing everything in miniseries. Like, no pressure, but don't worry, you mess this up, you definitely won't be working in this industry again. But the thing is, I didn't tell him. But bro, I didn't tell him till years later. I'd already been working with my man Chuck Drost because I love his property. So either at work, because that's how it is. It's like either at work or we go to his apartment because all the New York kids, all their apartments were literally within a quarter mile of the office because they were all absolutely new to Cali. None of them could drive, So they're in California and they can't drive, so all their apartments are within walking distance of the office. Mm-hmm. We would go back to this place and we would just riff off things. So I already had so much material written, so I spoke with my boy Chuck and I was like, hey, long story short. Came up with some scripts. Mike said, this is pretty good. That was the first time I got published. I ended up publishing Trouble Man in 94, 95, and that was published through Image. And I'd already had the bug, so now I actually got published. And then from then on, it was just, how do I keep this ball rolling? And that hasn't been as easy. The industry has changed a lot over time. Work, I was going to say ebbed and flowed, but mostly whatever the not flowing part, that's mostly what it was. So it got me to a point where if I was going to be in comics, I was going to have to make my own books. And that's kind of what happened. And I first published self-published in 05. And that was a different world. You put everything was through Diamond. You get into the book, you solicit, you do all that kind of stuff. And it was just different amounts of information which you have now. Like I didn't have a lot of data about which shops were doing what. And it was I was just kind of financially constrained and it was tough. But now, last time I was on with you, I was on with my man, Rod Super Looper. That's my dude, man. So awesome. we did Black Tiger, and that was a 172-page graphic novel. And so we're totally sold out of those. And we're already working on, we've got the next graphic novel, which we're going to release in Q1. Yeah. But what we're talking about today is Magna, and that's a 75-page graphic novel that is fully produced. So just for I'm like I told you, I'm trying to do it a little bit bigger, like Al. So I'm trying to have a runway with my production. Mm-hmm. So Magna's fully produced. Magna's fully produced.
I'm like you,
man. Yeah, Bo no, Al knows.
My wife's laughing in the other room. Like, Al, did you hear that? That's funny.
She's like, Al, they don't know you, do they?
Right.
Hey, look, man, all of us are here, we're all here producing. We're all figuring, like Doc said, we're still figuring out our way as we go.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So the production for Magna is complete. And then the next Black Tiger volume of production is complete, which I want to come out. I want to start that campaign hopefully in Q1. And then the subsequent Magna volume, which will complete this story arc, is the next 75 pages. That production is complete. So I'm trying to get a runway where I can hopefully start getting books out on a pretty periodic basis. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of depends on how well the campaigns pick up as to kind of the speed at which I can do that.
Right.
Cool. If you want to show this trailer, go for it now.
Yeah. I'm going to play this. Let's check this out.
Welcome to Tree City, Idaho. The year is 1942. Spring is in the air, but times are tense as the world finds itself at war. While high school senior Kari Skogsholm finds her provincial life unfulfilling, her parents are eager to keep their lives and, most importantly, their extraordinary daughter under the radar as long as they can. But time is not on their side. They prepare to flee to protect Kari, but something within her compels her to stay and take a stand. It's time to learn truths that have been kept from her, be it out of love or fear or something else. It's time to answer the calling upon her life, whatever that may be. So her journey begins, and things would never be the same. But Kari's story finds its roots millennia prior. The men of renown, known as the sons of God, and the daughters of men in the first and second heavens, joined with raised arms one last time, combining all the power that they had to command. In the heavens, above the world, the last stand of these mighty men was also the last appearance of the agents of destruction, until their reemergence in 1942. Kari must learn the truth about herself determine the end game of these supernatural agents of destruction and how to stop them before all is lost.
That's cool, man.
That's some
Very.
funky music.
Yeah.
It was epic. Epic on top of
Speaking of
it.
Did you just get some more backers? Looks like that number went up.
Yeah, I think it did.
I think it did, right?
Yeah.
Nice, nice. So let's get into this, man. Tell us about
Oh, yeah, I did.
Magna, the Last Pantheon. Look at this right here. Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You muted, man.
Yeah, I'm muted again.
Yeah.
Muted again.
And I said what I said was gold too.
At first, I'm like, wait.
And I can't remember it.
It was brilliant.
It was brilliant. It was the best ever. So with just a quick elevator, Cottie Scott's home. She finds her world turned upside down when this werebeast attacks her family. She uses her power that her family's had her hiding to protect her family, and as a result, her family ends up revealing to her that she's adopted. And this revelation sends her on a journey of self-discovery. This is 1942, so the world is at war at this time. United States is on the precipice of entering the World War, but in Europe, they are in the throes of war. She goes to Finland, where Finland and is actually battling with Russia at that time. So she finds herself in a little bit in the midst of that battle. And then you know how it is, if you're in Finland or something, you make one wrong turn, you're in Asgard. So she finds herself in Asgard, and she finds herself in league with a conglomeration of the remaining deities of myth that are left in the world. And they've all come together for the sake of survival. So they're a dishevel band that include Olympians, from the Egyptian pantheon, from Chinese pantheon, from the Aesir, Asgardian pantheon. So they're all struggling for survival. She finds herself in the middle of their struggle. And moreover, she finds herself the linchpin as to whether she and them are going to survive. So without any spoilers, at a high level, that is Magna, the Last Pantheon.
That's fantastic. The interiors are awesome. I love the colors.
Thank you. That's my dude, Marcio Abreu. I've known him for a number of years.
Mm-hmm.
And he just has the right sensibility for the book. He's done work for on Red Sonja and Warlord of Mars. So I knew he could pull it off. I knew he could pull off kind of the sensibility and really kind of bring that sense of high adventure, but also kind of keep you in the story.
Yeah, look at that panel. Unbelievable.
Let me tell you, man, this is where you realize how important every level of production is. Mm-hmm. Because the pencils and inks are amazing, but the colorist made this page. Because the colorist, so if you see that panel with the angelic beings that are coming down,
right?
You give all the direction that you want to give, but sometimes, it's kind of like the color can kind of like, I've heard, I stole this though, but it's true. The color can kind of be like the music in a movie. And you see these angelic beings come down, and your initial thought is, it's white in the background, and it is, they're coming here to save. Mm-hmm. But he puts this nasty, like congealed old blood sky in the background.
Yep. And
you almost don't need you don't need that one word, and you don't even need the scree, because when you just see that picture, you're like, those guys are coming down, but something ain't right.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Mike Davis actually kind of taught me when I was at Motown was because like he would go through his books first, and I'm like, don't you at least read the books? He's like, no. He's like, first you go through it for artistic flow. So he's like, I should be able to go through a book and just see how the book flows. I won't know the story exactly, but I should get the flow for the story.
Right.
And I should have an idea of where the story is at just by looking at the pages. Then I'll go back and read it, and I'll get the full measure of the story. But the art's got to tell a part of the story. So the colorist in this place really, kind of put the final touches on that. Where if you look at the color throughout the book, the color is telling you things about the story. Even if you go to the next page, this is like kind of the reveal. Behold the Pantheon, and the colorist did this too. So it's like, they're there, and you're thinking, man, they're in their glory. You can see the gold chairs and all that kind of stuff. But if you look in the background, it's all dusty.
Yeah.
And you realize that their glory it's past glory. Their stuff is dusty and their stuff is old, and that's. The colorist brought that to the table. He understood what I was trying to convey, but he's the one that made that happen with the colors. So,
Dude, colorists, I'm telling you, good colorists really make the book. They do.
Bro.
The pencilers are great. The inkers are great. Well, actually, the inkers and colorists really can take those pencils and they can make or break sometimes.
They really can. They really can. And the letter is also an unsung hero because, you see like some of the letters with the action. I mean, some of it you feel like you're actually, the person's actually shaking when there's like a boom or, just kind of, or the different fonts so that that the voice is a little bit more gravelly or, kind of stuff like that. Or like that shriek, and it's even kind of like jagged and kind of nasty, so you can imagine what that really sounds like, and you're like, oh, that's got to be a terrible sound to hear.
Yeah. Now, is your letterer basically doing your designing too, like with all your letter boxes, your Shri and all that stuff?
Everything.
Right?
The dude's name is Marco de la Verde. And the dude he's a magician, because like sometimes like he's made fonts for certain characters.
Yeah.
Like he's gotten to know certain characters and created a font just for those characters. And I'm just like, okay.
Well, that's the magic of a good letterer, like you said. Like that's an underrated creator right there, because all of these fonts, they make fonts, they design a lot of that. It's basically they're not just letterers; they're graphic designers, and they're putting their talents together to bring the words alive. It's not just that beautiful handwritten lettering that you're used to with the Silver Age, Golden Age books, things like that. With computers and everything now, I mean, they really get into it. And like you said, when they get to know a character, they create a font, and that allows you to have a different voice in your head when you're reading that character.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
And I don't know if people catch on to that too often. No. But gorgeous book, man. Absolutely
thank you, bro.
Gorgeous. Such a great story too. I love this.
Man, I appreciate this. And this does take place in the same world as Black Tiger. For those that did Black Tiger. So doing some world building here.
Right.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
World building, man. I always appreciate that. People building their comic universe, having different titles that tie in. I mean, Al knows what that's about. He's doing the same thing. It's incredible.
One book at a time.
That's it. That is it, my friend.
You're funded. I mean, here's another one, guys. We've had 5 great books on tonight, really, everyone. And if it's something you're into, back it. We've actually seen some. Sam was able to get a couple more backers tonight. He just broke his stretch goal tonight on the show. We see that John here's campaign went up another backer as well. So I mean, if you like it, back it. Again, times are tough right now. We're still dealing with things in the world, right? But we can always do one simple thing, and that's share a campaign. Even if it's not your thing, you can always respect the indie community, respect the time and effort people put into things. And if you're for it, and this is what you love to do, and you love to back Indiegogos, Kickstarters, buy independent books, that gentlemen like Chris are selling on his own directly. Al sells on his own. They all sell on their own as well. And, just help share it. Get the word out there. You may know one person. You might know 50 people. Who knows? But by helping these creators continue to create, it inspires other creators, and it's that domino, man. Let's look at those dominoes. Let's see those dominoes down in a row. How are they going to fall? Let's make sure they fall the way we want, because man, this is the golden age. It's going to continue to prosper in the indie scene. I'm telling you,
man. It is one. There's an artist who's got a cool book out. His name is Robert Geronimo. He's got this book out called Wirehead, and he was saying, and I got to give him credit because he coined it, but he says, this is a comic book renaissance. And that's what this really is, man. I mean, it's like, you know, even the reason why I have, you know, product is we continue to produce, even though we didn't see the road for how we were going to distribute. And now the road for distribution is here.
Yes.
You know, so it's like, this is a dream come true, you know, and it's like you have basically the democratization, you know, and the meritocracy for this industry now. Right. So it doesn't, you know, it's great if you have a name, but if you don't and you set up a campaign or anything, your campaign is right next to that person's with the big name. Right. And at the end of the day, it's people like you, Niall, people like you guys that have people that are watching your show and you're sharing. That's how this whole renaissance is happening. It's all grassroots. It's all organic, you know. And I love it because honestly, for me, I had, you know, comics is my first love, the first medium I loved, and for a couple of years there, I wasn't buying anything because I just wasn't feeling what was being made. And man, in this last year, I have bought so many indie books, bro. I mean, my wife, she's just like, yeah, I know. She's like, you're gonna go on a show and buy a book. she's like, baby, I hope somebody buys your book because I know you're gonna be buying somebody else's book. I'm like, well, as long as you know how this works.
Yeah, exactly.
You can tell her, John, I'm gonna buy this because it looks awesome and it makes me want to step up my game. So
there you go.
Makes up for it.
But you know what?
It's inspiring and networking each other in this. And what's cool though too, you know, even like a show like mine here that I do with Billy and stuff. I mean, you know, we're not just guys promoting other people's work. We're creators as well. So we all can mesh together and we're all helping build each other's networks and inspiring each other. You know, Chris is inspired by your work, John. Now it makes him want to maybe, you know, work harder, push harder, work on his designs, do things. You know, everyone's evolving. You know, I know Doc's got something stewing up there. He's a magician right there, Doc. You know, it's just how it works. We meet people, we network. And what's funny is I get a lot of messages, and I think because we do a lot of the crowdfunding stuff, a lot of people want to know about crowdfunding. And if I can help, I'll help. I've gotten, you know, I've helped a lot of people out there behind the scenes. But what gets me is people are, and it's funny, some people laugh, say, well, it's not really that easy. But they always say, well, how do I get published? How do I get my comic book published? And I'm like, it's very simple because you do it yourself. Right. You're going to write your script. You're going to find your artist if you're not the artist. You're going to, you know, get your script done. You're going to find a friend, or you're going to pay an editor. You're going to find someone to proofread and make sure your story's good, this and that. Get it to a point where you like, and you'll have your artist. You're going to create that. And I said, once you have your book written, your script set, you got your artists lined up, they can start producing pages and things. You hire your colorist, your inker. I mean, it could be a long process. Who knows how you're going to fund it? But I mean, you can just do samples. I tell them you can do samples of the work, get a couple pages done.
That's right.
You know, make sure your script's 100% done. That's not going to cost you anything, especially if you do it yourself. Right. Pay a little money, get your artist, or if you are the artist, just get a couple pages done, get some panels done, get them colored, so you have something to show the product, and then crowdfund it. And then you find your printer, and your printer is going to kind of take you from there. These are the formats we need, and this is what we need. And it actually is a very simple process. But I think people get so overwhelmed. But like you were saying, John, you know, back when you started, you know, what did you say? Was it 05?
Yeah.
Or 08, 05, you didn't have Kickstarter. You didn't have Indiegogo, or at least not to the levels they are now.
No.
And, you know, you literally can make an entire book at home on your own. You can letter it. You can color it. I mean, Adobe, if you like Adobe products, $19 a month, you can have their entire suite. It's a subscription, but they literally give you every program that they make, which would cost thousands and thousands of dollars before the subscription service. Right. So, I mean, the tools are out there. Cintiqs are cheap as heck right now, you know, compared to where they were. I mean, not cheap, but I mean, they're now a couple $100s to get a good quality Cintiq if you want to draw digitally, or you could draw traditionally, get an Epson workforce, and you can be scanning in 11x17s. I mean, it is very simple to make.
Yeah.
The hard part is orchestrating it. And
there you go.
The game. That's the hard part. But actually making it is, it's all there, and it's feasible.
Yeah.
And to anyone out there, it's hard work. It like you're going to put your life into this. You're going to put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. But there's no better feeling than when you get that shipment from the printer with your book in it that you made, that you had something to do with, that you collaborated with. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I second that, Mr. Blevins. It is definitely creators like we saw tonight that makes Five and Dime the place to see new up and coming creators and work, and just new up and coming books, new series from continuing creators. So I definitely want to thank you all for coming on tonight. Everyone, please, the links to all the books that we saw tonight, all the live campaigns are in the description of the show. There's links from our amazing admins in the show. And I just wanted a huge thank you to an indie creator that I find inspirational. And I was very pleased when I got that, yes, I can host with you tonight. Mr. Elton Simpson, I really appreciate you coming on. I always enjoy having you on the show.
Anytime. I learn something new from all you guys every time I come on a show like this or get a chance to watch it. So I appreciate just being here.
Yeah. So I just want to thank everyone again. Good luck with your campaigns. Good luck with your books. Continue to inspire each other. Keep us in the loop with anything going on. You know the email. You know how to DM or whatever. If you have anything new coming up, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to have you guys on another Five and Dime, or even if we do any of our other themed shows.
Awesome. Appreciate it, my man.
Great job, guys.
It's great meeting you guys. I already know you, Doc.
Thanks. Thanks so much for having me on, and
Thanks, Doc.
really appreciate it.
All right, everyone.
You guys, thanks for having me.
Have yourselves a great night, and we will see you all later.
Super cool, man. Thank you.
Hey everyone. Thank you for joining us on POPXP. If you haven't already, make sure to click that subscribe button and also click the bell for notifications when we go live and we upload some awesome new content. Also, don't forget to head on over to Twitter and follow us at the POPXP and over on Instagram at the POPXP. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you soon.